Happy Wednesday and welcome to Ask Evelyn Live, where we answer your questions about compost, recycling, garbage, and other trashy topics. I'm your host, Becca Fong, and I'm really excited to be back with you guys this week, though Pat and Angela killing it holding down this show. And thank you guys for all of your questions. So this is episode 51, Pop Quiz, Waste Nerds. We're going to talk about some of the most challenging terms that we run into. It's like, what do those all mean? So Pat and I are going to dive into those in some lightning round quiz vocabulary to help you guys get through it. So, all right, quick reminder too is that this show is run on your question. All of these terms came from you guys, so we're really excited to get into them. So as you have questions, make sure to send them to us on our various channels, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or you can email us at askevelyn@seattle.gov. All right. And joining me is my lovely co-host, Pat. Hey, Pat.
Hey, everybody. Pat Kaufman here, Commercial Recycling Coordinator for Seattle. Happy to be joining you, Becca. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this particular episode because we run into these questions all the time, right? So, Pat, we're just going to go lightning round, right? We're just going to show some different terms.
Let's blow through some terms here.
All right, absolutely. Okay, our first term, Pat, we got for you, and these are things that come up all the time. So here we go. Your first word. Biodegradable.
Biodegradable. Okay. Well, so first of all, a lot of these terms, this term in particular is quite misleading. It's actually not allowed to be used on a lot of products in our state and in California, so you'll see less and less of it over time, but it still does come up on some products. I think that what companies are trying to say when they say the term biodegradable is that it is okay to put in your yard waste cart, which it is not. It does not mean compostable.
No.
Biodegradable is like everything around us. Everything in this room is biodegradable. Under certain conditions, over a certain amount of time, it will biodegrade. And so it doesn't really help the consumer for companies to use the term. It is, of any term, it's probably the most appropriate to label as a greenwashing term, as a term that just is, you're not really providing a lot of help here. So that term is not helpful, and no one should refer to that term. It's a thumbs down term. No one should refer to that term as helpful or a guide in figuring out what bin to put their materials into.
Absolutely.
All right, first word for you, Becca, compostable.
Ooh, compostable. So unlike biodegradable, compostable is actually a regulated term that we have talked about. So we often tell you guys out there, when you are looking for one term on an item to figure out if it goes in your compost bin, this is the term. This term right here that Pat's got in his hand. That's the one. It's got to say compostable on it. That is a regulated term. You will also see different seals like BPI and some other ASTM certs as well, Pat. Is that right?
Yeah. To use the term compostable on a product, you actually have to meet an ASTM standard. It has to be tested and approved in a lab setting. And then for it to meet, compostability standards in local compost facilities, it has to be tested and approved there as well. So compostable, what we tell our customers, if you see the word compostable on a product, it is a product. It is an item that you can place in your food and yard waste cart. However, I will make one more disclaimer on that.
Absolutely.
And that is that companies that make things like compostable toothbrushes or compostable, ice scrapers, or who knows what the heck the product is. I mean, none of those things, we don't want those things in your yard waste cart. Your yard waste cart is food and yard waste. And the things we accept in the yard waste cart include food and yard waste and compostable food packaging products. That's it. We don't want the compostable shoes or the compostable writing pen. Companies will get this term and they'll get an ASTM approval on some element of their product, so they'll add the term compostable to it. But if it's not food packaging or beverage packaging, I should say as well, then we don't want it in the food and yard waste cart.
Absolutely, because the food and beverage packaging is, proved and also works with our processors to be actually broken down and decomposed through the composting process.
Right.
All right, Pat, here's another term that I personally just love.
All natural. Well, I think you're all natural. Beck, I think I'm all natural.
It's true.
I mean, who isn't all natural, right? I mean, au natural. So to me, the term, this is the one that really doesn't get very close to helpful guidelines at all.
Right.
And I think it's mostly intended to give the consumer the impression that, the product comes from some, natural
Holistic.
selection, natural source, wholesome. Yes. Not having unnatural or, preservatives or something like that. But it's really, again, a total misleading term. And I don't think there's any regulatory framework around that term at all. I think companies are allowed to use it whenever they want. And, you see it mostly in the product itself, not in the packaging. So, meaning, what would be in the packaging. So it's not as much of a curveball, I think, or a confusion term for folks who are trying to figure out their guidelines on recyclable or compostable. But it certainly does it is intended to lead the consumer to that, assumption that it's better than otherwise.
Right. I think it's a good point that this term in particular, a lot of these terms are they're marketing terms, right? They're greenwash terms. They're meant to kind of help consumers make decisions on, is this a product that meets with my values? And then how does it meet with my values as it goes to like waste sortation? And the only term we've encountered so far is compostable. That's going to help you with your sortation. Right. Everything else is unregulated, but we still have more terms to go.
That's right. Okay. Here's a good one to kind of come back to that. Oops. Made from plant. Whoops, I am upside down. Made from plants, plant-based. So this one's to you, Becca. What do you make of this one?
Very, very similar to all natural, made from plants and plants-based, applies to a lot of things. I mean, that's a pretty big term. So again, this is a term that, again, is meant to say it's derived from plants. I mean, you can stretch this pretty far. There are lots of things that are made from plants. I think where you and I have encountered this and gotten questions from customers is that they'll find some kind of like maybe a utensil, right? Like a bioplastic utensil. And they're like, but it's made from plants. Like, does this mean that I can put it in the compost? It does not. It has to have that word compostable on it. So.
That's right. I mean, my kitchen table is made from plants, right? Versus a resin-based or a petroleum-based, feedstock for a product. That's a one and done, or if it's not recyclable, then it's one and done. So it does have its benefits, but it is not an indication as to whether something is accepted in our green cart or not. So
not at all. Not at all.
We'll set it aside.
All right, Pat, here's another great term.
Organic. Nice. Expensive. So it's kind of like all natural. Organic is actually one of those things, as we were reminded recently, that it is a regulatory term when it is assigned to food products.
Yes.
So when companies who make food products use the term organic, they have to go through a test and approval process to ensure, and I think they have to maybe pay to use the term. I'm not sure, but they have to pay for the testing and approval, right? Yep. But there's other products, on the shelf at the store, in the cosmetics department or the cleaning, materials, or in clothing or whatever. Organic is only in the food and beverage, to my understanding, in those categories, is the use of the term regulated. Again, it's a great term in that super terrific. That sweater is an organic wool sweater. Well, that's fine. That's great. It's that may mean that there's, no pesticides or herbicides or whatever used on the farm where that wool was, sheared from the sheep or whatever. But the point is that, coming back to our guidelines for Ask Evelyn and where does it go, the term organic does not really provide to the consumer good direction or helpful direction on whether or not an item is accepted in the green cart.
Absolutely. I think we talked about this a little bit, is that we're talking about more of the upstream impact. So, supporting organic food production is fantastic because there's less impact on the environment. There's less materials being pulled out of it. There's less inputs going in, which is fantastic. It is a regulated term by the USDA. There's a rigorous certification process to use it. But like you were saying, my organic hairspray, maybe. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, I don't know which one I'm supposed to do right now. What's up?
What you got?
I got all my papers mixed up.
That's all right.
I'll just give you one. Here you go.
All right.
Here you go. Sustainably made.
Oh, sustainably made. Okay, this is again, a term that can make you feel really good. Like, I will admit, like, I look at that, I'm like, well, I'm somebody who's really in favor of sustainability, right? That
Yes.
means that something has like a holistic process. It means that all of the things that are used and the labor practices, like, this is a system that supports itself. Not a regulated term, a great concept. And I think if you really know your company, that can help with your purchasing decisions. Other than that, it doesn't really mean a lot. Everybody's concept of what sustainability means and what that looks like is very different. It is not a regulated term. So for sortation, really doesn't mean anything. I think if you dig deeper into the company that is providing that product and what their sustainability message is, I think that'll help make you a more conscious consumer, more informed. But as far as that, if it's got that label on it and you're trying to decide where it goes, I would consult our Where Does It Go tool and our guidelines in order to make the best decision.
I think the term's been beneficial to the industry of manufacturers and packaging and food products and whatnot. Because when you talk about sustainability, that's it's sort of a corporate term. It gives the corporate kind of community a sense of like, okay, what lane are we in here? We're talking about, you know, the things that can impact climate change, that can impact, you know, recyclability, that can impact compostability or source, you know, sources and whatnot of your product feedstock and such. So sustainability is sort of like a category space, you know, where more detailed words will be used to define things. So yeah, I like that.
All right. Here's another one that's kind of in a similar vein.
Yeah, environmentally friendly. Okay. Well, and this one that's been around a long time, right?
Yeah.
I think environmental, you know, kind of came before sustainable. But so environmentally friendly, you know, friendly meaning no negative impacts, right? If we're friendly, we're not having a mean or angry or, you know, we're not having negative impacts on whatever we're engaging with. So when a product is environmentally friendly, it basically is implying that, you know, no harm was done to the blank in making this product. That's still, there's no test for this. There's no regulatory framework for it. That what you're holding looks environmentally friendly to me. It's, you know, it's a heart-shaped paper, but yeah. So we're just trying to make sure folks know that, you know, these terms that you'll see plastered across the product, it may say environmentally friendly, and it may in fact be, but it also might not be at all. It might be a company that's completely disregarding the legitimacy of the term and just plastering on a product trying to get you to buy it, and there's nobody that's going to challenge them on that. There's no regulatory body to challenge them on that.
Right.
I mean, I suppose there's some FCC, you know, Federal Communications, you know, kind of thing where if they overclaim things in certain ways, a company can be held to that. And if it was egregious, then, you know, the Attorney General could probably go after him or something like that. So I shouldn't say there's zero regulatory framework, but it still gets banted about pretty easily, terms like this.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely. All right, you got one more for me, Pat?
I already did the plant-based. Here it is. I think we've got made from recycled materials. Right?
Okay. So this is, as far as I know, not a regulated term in the way that we talk about kind of organic certification or having that compostability sign on it.
Mm-hmm.
But we talk a lot about, you know, if you're putting all that material into your blue cart, when it needs to be made into something else. So this is generally a label that you'll find on like paper. I know that I have some recycled plastic picnic plates that I have for my kind of mess kit. And those are really great things to look for because we're always, you know, all that material that's going into your blue cart, you want to make sure that has somewhere to go. So purchasing things that are made from recycled materials, which is exactly what that term means. It means an item that was meant for recycling was used in the making of this product. So that's all that means. It does not mean that this item is now recyclable.
Right.
So that is really kind of the key point. You know, a lot of folks will be like, well, I see that this, you know, plastic thing was made from recycled materials. Can I just put it back into the recycling? Not necessarily. Right. You'll want to definitely check our guidelines to make sure that we are accepting that because other things get added to it in the process of its manufacturing. So
there's a lot to this. And, you know, those of us in the industry, we know some of the unfortunate history of the recycle symbol. And we're going to have another show to talk more about recycle symbols and such. But this one, you know, made from recycled materials, the reason why it's on this show and we're talking about compostable materials and misleading compostable terms is that sometimes you'll get a to-go container that's brown and it's craft colored, you know, it looks like it's compostable, and on the bottom it'll say made from recycled materials. And so again, that company is trying to use terminology that is not regulated to imply that it's a better product than some other product, or that, you know, the consumer should put it in their one cart or another based on that label. And the label, I mean, most paper product you buy is made from recycled material. Whether it says, now if it has a percentage, and I'm getting into the next show's topic here,
Okay.
but when it has the percentage
in.
of post-consumer content, that's when you get real.
Yeah.
But if it just says made from recycled content, you know, I mean, most paper mills feedstock is from both virgin and recycled content, and that's just how the world works these days. So it's out there a lot, and should not refer to it as a guide for recyclability or compostability. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, so just in a quick wrap up, so all the terms we went through, these are all came from you guys, so thank you. Keep them coming. We love helping to kind of clear some of this stuff up. And really none of them, except for the word compostable, will you use for sortation. All of the rest of them are really just their marketing terms, right? And we did this show to kind of help clarify how these can be used to confuse you with sortation. But getting familiar with all of them is super important for just making you a more savvy consumer. So about that, I thought I had a small technological blip there. So I'm back, but it's kind of a nice break. So definitely, like, you know, check out your terms. Send more to us. We love hearing from you. Yeah. And if you like this kind of quick pop quiz, let us know, because we'll definitely do it again. So now we are at the part in our show where we talk about our weekly waste tips. And I've been thinking a lot about things as things are shifting in the pandemic. We adopted a lot of behaviors during this last year that, you know, as I'll just be honest, as like terrible and hard as this last year has been, there have been a few practices that we probably all adopted that I've been thinking about. You know, I'm ready to get back to things, but I also think that I've learned a lot of really great lessons. So Pat and I thought we would bring you a pandemic kind of behavior change waste tip that we've encountered that we're going to try to stick to. So for me, one thing that I'm going to try to stick to is buying less clothes. I didn't necessarily buy a lot of clothes before. I was a huge thrifter. I love like making clothes from other clothes. I love mending, but I also realized, as you guys, you know, watchers of this show realize, like, my tagline is life simpler with less stuff. And that's more a reminder for myself, because let me tell y'all, I love me some stuff. And I realized during the pandemic, I just didn't have access to that. And I realized my life really is a lot simpler, and you have much less of an impact. You know, I'm washing them less, I'm consuming less, and really it's made me think very, very deeply about how many things I actually need beyond clothing. So I'm going to stick to that. I did have one little small thing. I had a pair of pants that I've had for a really long time, and they finally just ripped, which I know is, I'm finally in style because my pants gave way.
Nice.
But I wanted to buy a new pair of pants, and I actually took a lot of time to think about that. You know, like, what kind do I want? Do they fit well? Do they fit lots of situations? All of the things we have talked about on this show, I had to really put into practice. And so, yeah, I'm going to commit to buying less clothes, and I think it's going to be a lot better.
I like it. Good stuff. So my the tip that I'll pass along, my pandemic period habit that I want to continue on is, I'm going to say, so the Intentionalist, if you've heard of the Intentionalist, you can punch that organization up, intentionalist.org. It's all about buying local, buying from BIPOC community, buying from women-owned businesses, people of color. I mean, it's a great resource for if you're just thinking, what should we have for dinner tonight? I don't know. Go to the intentionalist.org and you will be inspired. If you want to buy a gift for a family member or a friend, go to the intentionalist.org and you will be inspired to find a local crafter, maker, merchant, you know, chef, you know, restaurant, what have you. And also it's Recycle Week, by the way, which our friends over at the Seattle Good Business Network, they promote Recycle Week. I'm sorry, Restaurant Week. See, I'm so recycle oriented. Restaurant Week. So it's actually all month. They call it Restaurant Week, but it's all month. So I say that buying local. And the thing I'll kind of piggyback that onto is that it also applies to your home improvement projects. So
Yeah.
I've talked about before, the Ballard Reuse Store, Second Use, Earthwise. These are companies that salvage reusable lumber
Yep.
and home, furnishings and such. And they capture them and they put them in their stores, and you can go there and get a perfectly good, actually sometimes better than new products for your home repair products or just for your housewares and such.
Yeah.
They got great stuff there. So it's kind of like thrift for the carpenters, if you will. It's kind of like the home repair thrift store.
Totally.
And,
DIY thrift.
yeah, DIY. So I just trying to stay local and, support the independents. So that's my tip.
Awesome. All right. Well, we'll keep up with you guys, and hopefully you guys will be inspired to find kind of some recycling and reuse behavior that you've adopted in this last year and keep it going. So, and if this year has taught us anything, it's that we can make big changes in our behavior for the good. They may not be easy, but we can do it. So, and it's just a little bit at a time. All right, really quickly, I wanted to remind everybody out there that our final spring compost giveaway is happening this Saturday at South Seattle Community College. They're one of our fantastic community partners. It'll be on from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. this Saturday. You can go and get up to half a yard of free bulk compost. So bring a shovel, bring your mask, and bring something to haul your compost away with.
And I'm just going to chime in on that. I'm going to say, if y'all are planning to go to that, you want to get there at 9. You want to get there early because I think it's going to be a very busy day. It's going to be a beautiful weekend. Everybody's going to want to do their yard work and stuff. So I think that it'd be a very popular event. Very good time, Becca.
It will be. It's a fun time, but definitely it's going to be busy. So, all right. So hopefully we'll see you there. And if not, we host them again in the fall as well. So don't fret. We'll catch you in the fall if you don't make it on this Saturday. All right. With that, thank you guys so much. We love hearing from you. Keep your questions and your comments and your ideas coming. And we will see you next week. And with that, I'm Becca Fong, and life's simpler with less stuff.
And I'm Pat Kaufman. Remember to recycle right. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.